Welcome back to the comic book collection update. We have six comic books. Um, we're gonna start off to my least interesting, which ended up being like, I shouldn't have even read this. To my most interested, I should have said interested. Most least interested, but you understand. But it ended up being like, it's okay, but it still was good. But let's get on into it. Okay, Netflix, A Tale of Hawkins Part Two. Um, it's a called Zombie Kid or whatever like that, and I don't really know, but one kid I don't really know none of the kids from the Netflix series or anything like that. It's just like one of the kids he was talking about all like what you want, your desires and stuff like that, and what you all do to get it, and basically he wanted to read a comic book. And his friend was like, nah, I ain't gonna let you borrow it and stuff like that. So he didn't get to read the comic book. Um, so they went to do a Dungeon and Dragon campaign. When the Dragon campaigns was over with, they was riding bikes, and that kid was like, "Hey, the last one to your house." Oh no, one said last one to one of them. The one with the comic books was like last one to my house. No, the first one to my house get anything they want, like get anything they want. And the kid who wanted the comic book, he took off and he was like, "I want this comic book," and he was like, "Hey, get back here!" The other one was like, "Hey, get back here! Um, I'll kill you!" And he ran into one of them and the one that was in front, just that wanted the comic book. He set up there. Oh, his name Will. His name Will. Will. He ran into one of the creatures. The creature must have sucked some energy out of him, and they must thought he was dead and all kind of stuff. But he came back. He was hospitalized, whatever, and they made fun of him at school, called him the zombie kid. And he just had this horrible feeling, and like he was seeing things that was like destroyed it, and stuff like that. And when he came back, and he just didn't fit in, and he was just like not really wanting to be there, be at school. He didn't want to talk to his friends. He was becoming a loner because he felt different. He felt weird, and his friends brought him to a comic book shop. Thought they can make him feel better with comic books. He started freaking out over there, but they didn't notice. They was just like, "Hey, let's just leave and like let's go do a Dungeon and Dragon campaign." And he was like, "Nah." Will was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go before my mom started coming look for me." Well, at school, he's still getting made fun of, and one of the teachers noticed and told him, "Hey, look, I used to get made fun of too, but I put all that stuff into like all that resentment and stuff into science, and that's why I'm a teacher in science. They do the same thing, and you'll become like you might be able to do something better. Yet, I seen your drawing. Your drawings look nice and stuff like that. They have like this newspaper. We got the school newspaper, and they looking for somebody to do comics. You know anybody?" And Will went home and he made a comic. Oh, and the teacher said something talk about, you know, it would be fun. Bullies. The way how you do it is if you make things fun, like if you be part of the joke, the bullies will leave you alone about it. And so he took that, went to make a comic, and the comic was called Zombie Kid. So basically, while everybody was praising him in school about the comic, in the newspaper, he getting autographs from girls and stuff like that. And basically, he got over everything. He started being back to his normal self, and and things goes on. That's basically was the story. It wasn't all that special. I felt like it was a waste to get and read. But hey, it's only 4 issues. I'm gonna finish off. I'm gonna get the last two, and then that's it. Unchosen, the Unchosen issue 2. So I don't know why they started off with a flashback. Basically, your flashback to when Ada showed up to the school. Once they went through the portal and got through the portal and got to the school, and she had a nightmare or a dream about her mother and how she was taken away when her mother was trying to tell her about what she really is, and she woke up sweat, and she ends up meeting, like, left out the room and met Daniel for the first time. And basically, it was just this little flashback of Daniel telling him nobody leaves the school unless it's for fighting. And then that's when, she went to Alex, aka our brother Riley, because they got to call him that because they're in the school, and basically explaining how someone told her that nobody leaves here and blah, 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 and explaining, talking about how I'm a prisoner and you should be letting me leave. And Alex was like, "No, it's not that. It's not that simple." And he explained how Alex explained how he met Ada's mother, and it was out in the fields, like going to help other different countries or people in villages. He was out there looking to learn their language so they don't die off, and she was there to heal him. And he ended up like seeing that she had limitations on how she can heal, so he introduced her to their side of the world and showed her a little too much, and something happened. But he didn't finish off. Uh, Next is that, we she basically saying you can't leave, but we're preparing you and stuff like that. And after that, get back to the present with Daniel and Ada's in the cafeteria talking how, and Ada's talking about how where the freaking first issue left off is that she was supposed to go see the headmaster, and Ada's telling Daniel like, "Yeah, I gotta go see the headmaster," and it's like, "Oh man, you must be in some trouble." And he was like, "That's not what they're telling me. They're telling me it's for another reason why they want me to go see the headmaster. And I think it's because I'm struggling to use the power that y'all have, the words. That's what they call it, the words. And I can't use the words like you guys do." And it's like, okay, well, I hope it is that, and you're not in trouble, because I don't want you to leave. And Ada was like, "But I don't feel like I need to be here," and stuff like that. And Daniel was like, "But you just want to go, but at the same time, I don't want you to leave." And he left off crying because it was time for Ada to go to the headmaster. When going to the headmaster basically explained about the words, how one guy, D, he said he got the powers of the god and stuff like that, and with the ability before, but he was like right and wrong. Like he said, it's like it's not from this. It's basically like it's like a connection of the languages, and certain words actually have deeper meanings to what they are. And but like the headmaster was just saying, like he wasn't wrong. It was just like he was just misguided, and he could have went further if he was actually guided right. We didn't find out until later on, and that's why we're not where we should be and stuff like that. And then, like, I don't know, she's like, "We're gonna teach you a different way from how the students learning, and basically show you basically how to do it, like more or less how the instructors and like Alex and Vash, which those are the two that rescued Ada from that little mysterious group, and left off seeing this big old floating thing, and it's supposed to be like something all powerful, but it's like it wasn't something I was impressed by. I was like, it threw me off. This thing threw me off with going into the flashback when it should have just went straight to like where it left off, and then hit a flashback, some type of flashback, especially like right there when Daniel was like, "Oh, I don't want you to leave." They should have had a flashback on how they met and why, like, because they just clicked and bond. It wasn't nothing really special, but it was like something small that just made them, you could tell he was going through stuff. And I know in the first issue when he seen the bird die, and all the other kids was picking, like, he's going through something different from everybody. And I think Ada is his only friend, so I think the flashback should have came there, and I think he probably got a deeper story for him. But we'll find out some more in issue 3 whenever that comes out. Bring on the bad guys, Red Skull, and this one basically wouldn't say it was fire, but it basically played off the Loki thing. It's basically similar, but not really similar. Um, the ending is instead of basically, I'm gonna just say the ending. It's just like Loki when how the art was the reason how the guy lived on, his soul was taken somewhere else. It's almost the same thing with the Red Skull one, but instead of his soul was given up, but his family secrets were passed on, and it's called Kramer Technologies. So basically, we start off with Red Skull stabbing Kramer in the chest, and he goes to a mirror, talk to Mephisto, and Mephisto said, "You don't have his soul." And he was wondering why, and then like a gunshot happened. So when the gunshot happened, he looked back, Kramer's still alive, and it's two of them, one on the floor, one alive. So he killed that other Kramer, and looked in the mirror and said, "Yeah, I got you too, but something telling me I still don't have a soul." And he was like, "That's right." Mephisto was like, "That's right. You're gonna have to give me the real one before we can do the deal." And it's basically the deal is give me Kramer's soul, and I'll give you Steve Rogers' soul. Okay, that's a little weird, but there's a little trickery. He's Lord of Lies too. You know what I'm saying? Like Loki. Well, Loki more of a trickster, but well, they both are. Eh, okay, whatever. But um, so he finds a downstairs passage, go down. He kills another Kramer with a robot arm. Then, like, all of a sudden, in the shadows, there's a whole bunch of Kramers because Kramers have clones. He don't have like body doubles or anything. He got clones, like clones, and these clones don't have actual soul. Well, he killed all the clones. Red Skull killed all the clones, y'all, with the dagger, and I think some gunshots, but with the dagger. And he got to the last one, and the last one was like, "I'm going to sit up there and blow this whole place up if you try to kill me. What deal did you make that involves my soul?" He was like, uh, "It's a deal to further the Reich." And like, he was like, "Well, what am I deal to counter offer? I can, I can clone the Führer, a better Führer." And it was like, "Nah, it's already too late. The Reich is falling in certain areas in Berlin and everything like that. So the British flags are going to be waving at places, and it's going to the Nazi things want to go away." And Kramer was like, "So what you thinking about? What is your deal? Is to better further the right and the Nazi ideology, Nazi idea." And he was like, "Are you sure this is going to happen?" And he's like, "Yes, and I know you want this. You would enjoy this because you would love you would love the Führer's idea go further. I just need your soul." And so he gave him a remote. He gave Red Skull the remote and said, "If I do this, make sure my research isn't given to the Allies or not taken from the Allied forces, and that it stays, it keeps going for my family because it's my family legacy. It is actually his family legacy, so it's like very important to him." And Red Skull was like, "I will," and it's like and Red Skull stabbed him and killed him, and Red Skull leaves out the building and blows it all up with the cloning technology and everything. And which we call it, Mephisto was like, "You blew it up," and it's like that was in the details. I thought the devil lies, but look at you, and it's like, did I really blow it up? And then it's like I told you the ending. He actually have like his family, his legacy still going on and on and on. But it's crazy how his soul was given to Mephisto. Oh, and you wonder what Mephisto did to basically betray Red Skull. Easy. He don't have Steve Rogers' soul, so Steve Rogers have to give his soul to Mephisto. for Red Skull to have it. Red Skull just want to have it to torture it and make a hell for Steve Rogers. Oh, Captain America. But and the next one, I don't. What the next one is? Starts with a D. I don't know their bad guy name. I don't know nothing about him. So we're gonna learn about him, and I'm gonna figure out his name too. But that's it. The Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. He leaves Miles. When he was in Wakanda, his sister was there getting taken care of by Black Panther. But when he showed up, it distracted Black Panther and all of the Wakandans and a secret organization Snatcher. Now, I don't know what happened between that and this, but somehow the Silver Samurai got her, and the little girl was just basically, chilling, playing, and making this hard, cold assassin samurai or whatever you want to call him. She had him playing, clowning around, doing things, with yarn, and it's crazy. Billy's a little sweetheart and weakens the hardest hearts. But besides that, the coast, I want to call him, look like a vampire or something like that. I hope this ain't a different version of Blade. I hope it's not. But he was basically, he found what the Silver Samurai had, and you're saying, I know you work for the Emperor, but I need that anomaly, and it's best that you give it to me for the other people who I know they find you and they're not gonna negotiate with you, and they declined, and Silver Samurai and whoever Mystique or whatever, I don't know who that is. They just basically, this is all in Japan also, and like they are just chilling with Billy, Miles' little sister, baby sister, and but Miles, he's in Japan. They attract the anomaly somewhere in Japan. Black Panther and Miles, and he left Boston Giant Man behind because he said, "Man, it's faster if I do this myself, or better if I do this myself." He met some X-Men, but in Japan, and he was wondering, like, "Man, hold on, this can't be. There's a there's another storm, and the storm's out here in Japan. Like, it's a young girl, she's Storm." And I don't know who the other one is. She got a staff with magic powers and stuff like that and magic, but they are together. They were looking for more like, more like mutants and stuff like that. And they ended up being tracked with Miles. They was fighting a little bit. Miles was like, no, hold on. And they used their phone as a translator to communicate with each other. And they was like, they was gonna help him look for his little sister. And, you know, they had a little moment where he was crying and stuff while at one of their houses. And while they was all asleep, one I don't know who that is, but her staff started glowing and transported them where I think her staff can attract anomalies because that's how they found Miles, and it's the anomaly, and because Miles' sister is an abnormally to everybody, and I think she's the strongest one. The staff sent them to her, and they was fighting. Um, they ended up fighting like the Seven Samurai, and some reason why they beat him, I don't know how, because Samurai with basically great sword skills losing against Miles, who made a sword, who don't have no sword skills. But I don't know how that works. But okay, um, he, they they sit up there and they won it, but they ended up losing at the end because somebody come out the blue. I didn't, and it was the Russians. The Coast had gave the Russians the information they needed about the anomaly, and basically they 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 took Billy and transported off, and Miles back to square one, with not knowing where his sister's at. And I know it hurts him because the simple fact is, he was just right there, and actually he was looking for that fight because he was like, man, I'm about to get my sister back. I'm ready to fight whoever for. And he found the beat still Silver Samurai, and then someone else snatches his sister up. So it's like, damn. But the coast made a deal with the Russians to get the anomaly, which is Billy, and they gave him some money. But the thing is that they know he got a plan. The Russians know the coast got a plan, and they wondering what is it, but they like, nah, you know what, we got the anomaly, so we'll find out whatever happened when it happens. But his plan seemed like it involves a few more people, and uh, we just have to wait and see because it ends like that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know what the plan is. I don't even know who the coach is. I'm gonna have to look him up because yeah, he might be somebody we know. I don't know. I just hope it ain't a version of Blade because he was draining somebody's blood, become the smartest person. So yeah, but that's it. All right, a good one we about to read, and it's, well, I read. It's Predator destroys the Marvel universe, and I'm gonna say this: unlike the Godzilla one, you need to actually reference two other comics. I think probably three actually. I know Predator versus Wolverine, Predator versus Spider-Man, and Predator versus Black Panther. The reason why is there's a Predator with all vibranium armor on. That was an issue. Uh, that was in Black Panther versus Predator versus Black Panther, and then how this starts, where this starts at, is at the end of the Spider-Man, the Predator versus Spider-Man one comic. But yeah, they leave notes in the comic about it. But let's start it off. So we start off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, getting a distress signal from Stark Industries. You know, Tony Stark, Iron Man. It's not really from him. It's one of his employees, his diggers. They was on the moon. No, one of the moons of Saturn, and they had a distress call. They sent out a distress call for help, and Guardians Guardians of the Galaxy were nearby, and they would go help. And Quill and Rocket went into the ship to go help them, and it was this trap. Quill got shot through. Rocket got killed. And then when the others Guardians was ready to assemble, uh, I think Thrax, he got his head chopped off. And even Groot got chopped in half, and Gamora got her arm cut off. So they was all out. The Guardians of the Galaxy was all out, and you're wondering who did it, and it was the Predators. That's why it says Predators kills the Marvel Universe. But they had some help, and the help that they had was Craven the Hunter. And you have to understand that from the Predator versus Spider-Man, that Craven had killed like one of the most well-respected uh Kuta Kata, one of the Predators, and whatever, however you say they race, but he killed one of them, one of the well-respected ones, and with that, they accepted and branded him as one of their own. So he's helping them out, and he's giving them intel about a list of targets that they need to hit, and it's like basically a whole bunch of heroes from the Marvel universe. And the reason why is because of how the Earth was treated, like basically using chemicals, making the world hot from world climate change and stuff like that. The predator race it loves that, so so they want to take over and use us as a reserve, a hunting ground, meaning as a hunting ground and as a home afterwards. And so Craven gives them everything. He says, this is the list of who all we need to take out. And the only thing I ask for is this. This is my trophy. And talking about Spider-Man. But he said, but after that, he was like, the first step, the first ones we could take out are just like a step or two away. And we shoot off to the moon where we find the Fantastic Four group drinking coffee and enjoying some time together and doing just their normal little thing of just relaxing and being a family. And Ben looked like he was upset, and he said he's just feeling lazy, and he was like, "Nonsense, man. Look, listen, yeah, saying he's feeling lazy, and he's like, yeah." Reed was like, "You know what? Now let me get you some sugar." And Ben wanted to get up to get it himself, but he was like, Reed was like, "Nah, I'll get it for you." And he stretched all the way there. And while they was all talking about like the doomsday algorithm, keep going off, talking about something always happening that's endangering the earth and having world destruction, and it always goes off. And they were just talking about that. And then all of a sudden, Reed Richards' arm got cut off, and he felt it, got it on, he was bleeding out, and he's sitting up there like he's crying, and like the rest of the Fantastic Four got into battle mode, and they didn't see who it was. And the next one, like Sue made a shield, a force field to block off any attack going to Reed and her. Johnny and Thing went out to fight. So, but Johnny was the first to go. He got his head cut off by, how they get the rope that basically, how the predators be having a rope. He flew and got caught in that little snare and basically got choked out and head cut off. And then, well, he imploded and then exploded. And then for Ben, they told Craven told them you might not be able to kill him. So the best thing to do is fight him at a distance and basically dispose of him in the space. You can't get him as a trophy because he's basically indestructible, and that's what they did to him. And Sue and Reed got away, but Reed, he's bleeding out, and he's telling Sue that whoever these guys are, they don't have no regular type of stuff. They must have like vibranium to cut me at a molecular, level so clean, like. And with that being said, she's trying to tell him to stop talking and survive, but he was like, he already knew he's about to be gone, and he's just talking, just trying to get her to know, and she just trying to spend the last moments with him, and that's how they ended. And it's like that sucks how it ended, but at the same time, oh yeah, this might be a good one. This might be a good one. Uh, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, a League for Justice. Okay, so we left off with Lex Luthor turning his train into a robot, and basically, yeah. And this is issue two. So in issue two, we are now at where he's destroying the town, but we're going to like Batman's little air balloon, air blimp or whatever like that, or little whatever blimp, and Martian Manhunter is basically giving the history of Kryptonians, how they once lived on Krypton. Uh, so basically, they once lived on Krypton. They went, they opened, they was around the dying sun. They drew power from the ether world or something like that, and it ended up destroying their planet. They went to Martian Manhunter planet, genocide his whole race, did the same thing what opened this ether world and had the same result happen to basically Mars, which that's messed up. That's why Mars looked the way it looked. That's their thing. And then they went to Earth. But what happened on Earth? Some reason why they just got wiped out because it was like Kryptonians lost a good bit of their people from the ether stuff. And then when they did it on Mars, they lost more. And I think how it started off, they opened it again on Earth and lost a little rest, but it didn't destroy all of Earth. But not all of no. Something else might have happened. I don't know because the ending ends with another Kryptonian. But anyway, so after the story, Martian Manhunter saying like, "I don't call you friend," talking to the Mister Century State Century or something like that, the Superman character, and was Superman, and basically telling them, look, I don't call you friend. but I don't want to kill you because you don't know nothing what happened, so you're okay. So that's good. But then Mr. Century hears something happened downstairs, so he went and go. They went and go and see that it's freaking Lex Luthor in a train. He got Lois Lane because she wanted a picture of him, and she had to get the stuff. It's old timey camera, so they got Lex Luthor to stay still by grabbing her, and your boy was able to take a picture. Her little assistant, y'all know his name, I forget it, but anyway, um, you know, they some reason why she falls out of his hand. Batman went go try to start fighting the machine. That didn't go too well. Mr. Century saved Lois Lane. Um, Basically, Martian Manhunter was trying to do this a different way, where he went into the brain of Lex Luthor and found out Lex Luthor is more in control of his mind than he wasn't able to find fear and all kind of stuff. And better yet, he almost laid a trap. He was laying a trap for Martian Manhunter. He don't know nothing about him either, and he just Lex Luthor had this in his head already, where he was this. It was a confinement that he had, that he goes to in his head, and it was like, man, you're a unique human. It's the same. You're driven by ego. That was what Martian Manhunter said to Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor was like, whatever, bro. But you need to get out. This is a privacy place, and Martian Manhunter, I was trying to look for some secrets, some stuff, tragic stuff to hurt you with. It was like, oh, there's something right there. And that was the little, he was trying to get Martian Manhunter to go down there, and it was going to be a trap. But, he didn't fall for it. But Lex Luthor said, it doesn't matter. I noticed something. You flinched over some fire, so let there be fire. And caught him on fire and realized that was Martian Manhunter's like mental weakness and stuff. And outside out of the brain, Lex Luthor was almost about to kill Martian Manhunter by attacking him till the Green Lantern showed up and saved him. And then Diana, she was like, "All right, we gotta end this," and she wrapped the little locomotive with a lasso, and Superman Mr. Sentry came, hit it, and took them over. And then Batman with a blade to the neck. Lex Luthor was like, "Hey, bro, I don't know what you was looking for, but how about you tell me?" And like Lex Luthor was like, "You think I don't got a plan for this? For this little situation you got me in right here?" Boom. The robot hand, the train locomotive robot hand came in through, grabbed Batman, tried to crush him. And then Lex Luthor realized that the thing he was looking for, the kryptonite, was on the air little blimp, or the hydrogen blimp, whatever type of blimp that was, and shot it down so he could get it. And then like when it fell down, it fell basically on top of the locomotive robot thing, and everybody thought Batman was dead until Batman was like, "Y'all shouldn't worry about me. He was up in a freaking thing. He escaped because he was making some little concoction to escape." It was like, "Y'all should worry about that." And they seen Lex Luthor with the kryptonite, and he tried to do something with it, and all of a sudden, boom, he like evaporated. And everybody was like, "Oh man, we lost this fight," and it's like it just didn't seem right. And it was just a little moment where they were just looking at the area, and it was like, man, what just happened? Now we skip and go all the way somewhere around to another part of the world to Ra's al Ghul and Constantine. Yes, Ra's al Ghul and Constantine. They having a conversation you're talking about how basically Ra's al Ghul was basically giving them some information about more about the Kryptonians, about how we were how the shadow of the League of Shadows is basically looking for basically Kryptonian weapons because we're not assassins, we're jailers. We're holding someone prisoner. And Constantine was like, "You're holding someone prisoner." And it's like, "Oh man, who?" And that's what he told him about someone who was just someone that basically was a threat to damn near to everyone on Mars, to the Amazonians, and and everyone on Earth. And it was Zod. And Zod is right there in the middle of the desert with Lex Luthor. And it ends off like that.